Welcome to another episode of Film Fanatics. I'm film critic Bruce Bennett, and to my right is film critic Adam Mast. He's looking fondly at me. We must be talking about something romantic.
You're so dreamy, Bruce. You have the loveliest eyes.
Oh, now he's just trying to work me over. Well, this is a little bit of a hint of what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about romantic movies. And first, we have a very interesting movie that's out in theaters today. We're going to talk to you about it right now. It's called Me Before You. It's based on a novel by Jojo Moyes. And tell us about it, Adam.
Very romantic to a certain degree until it goes somewhere pretty serious. Actually, it doesn't go somewhere serious. It sets the stage from the get-go what the movie's going to be about.
Right.
And
tell us about it.
Tell you about it. What do you want to know?
Well, you've got a rich guy.
Right.
Who's part of, his family owns a castle, the Trainer family. It's played by Sam Claflin. And he's injured in a motorcycle accident, which has left him completely disabled for the rest of his life. Yeah. And into his life comes this bundle of bounce,
energy, tenacity,
played by Emilia Clarke,
fierce
Louisa,
independence,
to be his caretaker. And it goes from there. It's a pretty simple premise, Adam. And what I like about this film is it has the potential to be very cloying and contrived, and it avoids those. And we come out with
translation. It doesn't turn into a Nicholas Sparks movie.
That's correct.
Right.
And it has
some of the Nicholas Sparks movies.
And it has quite a thought-provoking type of ending too.
There's
really
some intense
interesting
stuff in here. Yeah,
there's great music. Sometimes it tries a little bit too hard.
The music to me was intrusive. I thought there were far too many songs that are trying to hold your hand
montages,
through the scenes.
Right.
I was getting irritated. I mean, it started treading into the Nicholas Sparks stuff quite a bit. What I love about this movie, I'll say it in 2 words, Emilia Clarke.
Yeah.
She is, I felt the same way watching her in this that I felt the first time I saw Carey Mulligan in Education.
Right.
It's like, it's the birth of a star, even though she's been around for a while. She's done 6 seasons of Game of Thrones. She was in Terminator Genesis last year. But with this movie, she is a star, an absolute star. I absolutely love her. Her facial expressions, she's lovable. You really fall for her almost instantly in this movie.
But Sam Claflin's character, he has to come across as very sincere too. And at first he rebuffs all of this energy and effervescence, but he's eventually won over
too. Obviously there's more there.
Yes, and yet he's won over, but he's forced to make a decision. So, interesting film.
Yeah,
I definitely say see it.
I like the film. There's some schmaltzy stuff in it, no doubt. But overall, I really liked it. I thought the stars carried it all the way home. And I would say see it as well.
Absolutely.
Since we're talking about romance movies, Bruce, we've got a special topic on this episode of Film Fanatics. And what is that topic?
We're going to talk about our favorite romantic movies.
Right.
And this is a very challenging genre, Adam, because a lot of movies could fall into very romantic films.
Right.
There are those films that try to be romantic and films that have good love stories in them. And I wrote down a couple like Superman or Castaway, Avatar. There's a lot of great movies that happen to have great love stories.
Quint sure was in love with that shark.
Yes, he was. Right? So what I tried to boil my list down is to films that really are kind of designed to be romantic. And what I found is I love unconventional love stories.
And I've got an unconventional film on my list.
So we're each going to give you our 5 favorite romantic films. So my first is Notting Hill, starring Hugh Grant and Julia Roberts.
I'm not a huge fan of that movie, I've got to admit. I like it, but I'm not a huge fan.
Well, even those people who don't like Julia Roberts or Hugh Grant, I think will admit this has got a lot going for it. And my number 4 film is The Goodbye Girl. You're going to have to search your Netflix and other places for this film. Came out in 1977, starring Richard Dreyfuss.
It's fantastic.
And Marsha Mason. And by the way, he became the youngest actor to ever win Best Actor for his performance. Written by Neil Simon, of course.
Yep.
It's got great dialogue, and I think it's very nostalgic for me because of the time. This was one of the first movies I took a girl to see, and well, first romantic movies. And one thing I love about it and about most unconventional love stories is where the couple struggles and there's an arc in their character, and it's a hard-earned love.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Number 3 for me is The Holiday. Yes, it's schmaltzy, but it has 4 fantastic actors in it, and the ambience and really the authenticity.
A great score.
Of it, and a great
Interesting to see Jack Black in a romantic lead. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, and there's a little story involving Kate Winslet that's really great too, where she she really
You got good ones
harbors.
on your. I'm not a huge fan of this one either. I mean,
Yeah.
to each their own.
Yeah, it's
One
I think
person's crap's another person's treasure, as they say.
one factor for me is its rewatchability, and this
Yeah.
is a film I can watch all the time. My number 2 is a classic, Gone with the Wind, which came out in 1939.
Never
it
heard of
set
it.
the standard for these kinds of epic romance films.
Bruce, frankly, I don't give a damn.
That
That's
may
all
be
I'm going to
true.
say.
I love you more than I've ever loved any woman. And I've waited longer for you than I've ever waited for any woman.
Let me alone!
Now, my number 1 falls into that same category, Adam, of kind of epic romance films. So stay with me here, but I have to say I'm a sucker for Far and Away. This is a film by Ron Howard, one of my favorite film directors.
Opie, go Opie.
Starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. And you talk about arc of a character. I mean, these characters go through a lot to leave Ireland, come to the United States, and find their dream. And I've seen this film many, many times.
It's a very
it holds up.
very old-fashioned movie.
Yeah, and I think it connects with people, if not critics, because of what Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman's characters have to go through. And obviously, there's quite a few years that go on,
Yeah.
and they ultimately find love
And a brilliant John Williams
and a
score
great
in that movie.
happy ending.
Yes, a very happy.
Give us
ending,
your
so to
5.
speak. Number 5 on my list is a little movie. You probably never heard of it because it opened up opposite of a little movie called Star Wars. Annie Hall.
A relationship, I think, is like a shark. You know, it has to constantly move forward or it dies. And I think what we got on our hands is a dead shark.
Little Woody Allen
Yeah.
movie.
You know I'm a big
Absolutely
Woody
love
Allen
it.
fan.
So great. You can't beat the neurotic vibe that comes with
Yeah,
a Woody
you
Allen
don't
movie.
normally
But
put
their
Woody
rapport-
Allen into romantic types of movies.
Gotta love he and Diane Keaton.
But
so
they have
great.
great chemistry.
So fantastic. Number 4 is a movie that wouldn't exist if it weren't. I mean, if it weren't for Annie Hall, this film wouldn't exist, and that's When Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
It's a Rob Reiner film from the '80s. Stars Meg Ryan, who's absolutely adorable, girl next door type. Billy Crystal, fantastic, has the orgasm scene to end all orgasm scenes.
Right.
Absolutely love it. Number 3, a little more unconventional. I'm going with Defending Your Life, which is a movie by Albert Brooks. I know
Love
you're
Albert
a huge
Brooks
fan.
and Meryl Streep.
Albert Brooks plays a man who dies well before his time. He's stuck in a limbo state where he has to defend his life, literally. And while he's up there, he falls in love with a character played by Meryl Streep. When people talk about great Meryl Streep performances, this film is very seldom mentioned.
Right.
I think I might have been a heavyset man at one time.
And she is fantastic because she's very low-key,
And subtle.
very sweet, very charming, and definitely
Right.
very
That's your
subtle.
number 3.
Yes. Number 2 on my list is Return to Me, which is a fantastic movie
you
with
are
David
sentimental.
Duchovny. Absolutely. David Duchovny and Minnie Driver,
Driver.
directed by the great Bonnie Hunt. Great cast in this movie. Aside from the leads, wonderful performances by David Allen Greer, Carol O'Connor, who
Secondary
played Archie
characters
Bunker.
often
Yeah.
make these kinds of movies.
Yeah, this
Adam.
movie's magic.
Would you go out with me?
Yes?
Is that a question?
David Duchovny plays a man whose wife passes away, and after quite a while of mourning, Duchovny finds himself attracted to a waitress played by Minnie Driver, and it turns out she's got a secret, and the secret's the foundation of the whole movie. It is warm and absolutely charming, magical.
Good
I
choice.
highly recommend it. And number 1 on my list, the Richard Linklater Before trilogy.
Right.
These movies are very special. I mean, this is one of the best trilogies of all time. quite
Well, the best
frankly.
romantic trilogy, and they're
Absolutely.
almost all dialogue too.
Obviously,
Yeah,
we've
right.
skimmed over. There's a lot of other great movies.
Well, like
Dr.
musicals,
Zhivago.
there's some great musicals that have great, like
For sure.
West Side Story and Singing in the
Yeah.
Rain. And I left off Barbra Streisand, who is in some of my favorite romantic films, like The Way We Were,
There you
Yentl,
go.
A Star Is Born.
And closing out our show, we can't get through a show about romance without talking about our love for Ivan Reitman's Ghostbusters.
The original.
The original Ghostbusters from 1984 is playing in theaters on Wednesday, June 8th, and Sunday, June 12th.
Preparatory
Only-
to the release of the new
Exactly.
film.
In fact, I hear that they're going to show some new footage from the new Ghostbusters, which is, if you haven't heard, is polarizing audiences.
Right.
People are concerned the reboot is not going to measure up. Anyway,
We'll see.
Ghostbusters. Check your local listings for showtimes.
There you go, another fantastic episode of Film Fanatics. I'm Bruce Bennett with MadAboutMovies.org.
And I'm Adam Mast with Cinemast.net.
And we're Film Fanatics.
Are you? You got to love our audience.
Yes, I
We
do.
love them.
Yes,
Yeah, some great romance movies out there.
there's a lot. My
I
list
think
is
people
big. I
just
left a
think
lot of ones.
we talk crap on movies all the time, which is not true. We're not cynical. We even have significant others.
Absolutely.
Go figure.
Yeah.